Hello class, good to see you. Glad that y'all are here today. Take a look at the emojis article we started looking at on, what was it, Wednesday? Yeah, Wednesday. Go ahead and get that article out. I'll give you a few seconds to do that. Yes, I'm actually waiting for you to get it out. Okay, now that you have it out, alright, I want you to just refresh yourself on what we read the other day. It's been a couple of days, we've done a lot of work in between, so we need to just remind ourselves of what we did yesterday, or excuse me, on Wednesday. Alright, so if you remember reading this article, you'll remember that it's about emojis, and it's about the benefit of using emojis in our text messages and emails. So one thing that we learned so far was that most of our communication is nonverbal. So when we're trying to get a message across, we actually use things like hand gestures. We make our voice rise and fall. Okay? We use body language. So most of our communication is actually nonverbal. Only about 30% of our communication is verbal with words. So when we send text messages and emails, this leaves a lot of room for misinterpretation, for people's feelings to get hurt, for people to be confused in general. So emojis help solve that problem. Emojis, when we put them back into our text messages and our emails, we can actually add emotion and empathy back into our messages. Whereas before, they're just written words and they could be easily misinterpreted. So, that's what we read so far. Remember, this is a single selection short answer text. So, we're going to read it, understand it, and then we are going to write a short answer about it. The whole idea of the short answer is to make sure that you understand the text that you're reading. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, let's continue where we left off the other day. Look at the section that says how to say what you mean. This is where we left off. We got through emoticons came first. So this is where we left off the other day. Alright, we're going to read through this together and continue annotating or marking up the text, making comments on the text, so that we can identify evidence in the text that we can use for our short answer. Right? And we're going to make comments on those pieces of text so that way we have an analysis as well. So let's continue reading. How to say what you mean. Everybody found it? Okay, good. Here we go. Unicode is an international system that standardizes characters across different operating systems. Type :parentheses into your iPhone or Android phone, and the symbols automatically turn into a yellow smiley face. Thanks to Unicode, emojis became accessible and easy to use. Linguist Neil Cohn researches how humans are programmed to use visual communication. In other words, people prefer drawing to convey their point. It's no wonder communicating digitally with emojis is a no-brainer. I want you to highlight that last sentence. Humans are programmed to use visual communication. In other words, people prefer drawing to convey their point. It's no wonder communicating digitally with emojis is a no-brainer. Now that you've highlighted that, let's make a comment about it. Here's why. This tells us something about what the author feels about emojis, okay? This tells us what the author feels and thinks about emojis. He thinks that it's a no-brainer using emojis. Why does he think that? Well, if we see here, we can see that people are actual visual communicators. We prefer drawing to convey our point. So, that being said, it makes sense that we would use emojis. What if that's our comment? What if we say it makes sense to use emojis? Let's go ahead and make that comment right now. I'm going to make a new comment, and I'm going to type, "It makes sense to use emojis in our messages because people are visual communicators." You don't have to type all of that or write all of that, as long as you have that basic idea in your comment. Go ahead and pause this until you finish writing. Okay, good. Now you've written your comment, make sure you draw a box around that comment to draw your attention back to it when we use that evidence later. Let's keep reading. Language experts note that emojis also help people online say what they mean. When they write, "What the heck?" for example, they can include a laughing emoji or an angry-faced emoji. That detail communicates whether a person is amused or mad. Big difference, huh? Things that are quickly adopted are likely to quickly disappear. Emojis fit so seamlessly into the way we communicate that linguists believe they are here to stay. Ooh, interesting. Highlight linguists believe that they are here to stay. It's telling us something about the permanence of emojis. Okay? The author chose to include that detail because he wants readers to know that emojis are important. They're here to stay. So what's a comment that we can make about that? What if we said something to this effect? Emojis will impact the way that people communicate in the future. Right? I mean, if they're here to stay, that means people are going to be using them for a while, which means we should probably get used to seeing emojis in our text messages. Maybe we should get used to using them in our text messages. Go ahead and write that. Pause this video until you finish writing. Alright, now that you've finished writing, make sure you draw a box around the comment. We're going to continue reading. Anyone can suggest an emoji. The Unicode Consortium is made up of a major software developing stakeholders such as Apple, Facebook, and Google. Anyone can submit an emoji request for free. It can take Unicode's technical committee up to 2 years to accept a new emoji. About 100 proposals are received a year, and approval rates vary from year to year. 74 new emojis are being considered for 2016, including a dancing man, a croissant, and pancakes. Digital communication is here to stay, said Evans, the linguist professor. We're all virtually connected, and we're in the midst of a digital revolution. For it to be as successful as spoken language, it needs this kind of system to complement and support the messages coming from text. It's interesting that the author chose to include that last quote from the professor. Okay, why would he choose to end the article with that quote? Let's take a look at it. Let's highlight this quote, starting with we're all virtually connected, and we're in the midst of a digital revolution. And then ending at the end of the paragraph there. So we're going to highlight that entire quote. Why? Well, if the author chose to use it as the last quote in the story, and people tend to remember the last things that they read, he obviously believes that this is an important comment. So, what can we say about it? Why does it matter to the reader? What if we said that emojis are the perfect fit for communicating in a digital world. Interesting. The author believes that emojis are a perfect fit for communicating in a digital world. So now that we've read the article, we're going to move to the single selection short answer. After you make this comment, put a box around it, and then you can close the video. Alright? Your next video will walk you through how to do the short answer, from planning it to actually writing it. Okay? So once you close this video, open the next one in the folder that I sent you, in that link that I sent you. Okay? And then watch the next video to help you plan and write the short answer. I'll see you soon. Bye.